Hello, and welcome back to another part of this reading of the White Album 2 Doujinshi, White Album 2 review book. Super interesting doujinshi. I assume you've watched the episodes before this, but just in case, it's a comic review, basically going over the entire game of White Album 2, going over the different routes with the different heroines, and we've finally made it all the way to Coda. So, continuing on from here. Now, my turn. When did you get here? Oh, look at Kazusa. And I love that her tights are just kind of, it looks like knee pads almost. That's basically how sudden it is in the game, right? It's true. You barely have a second to breathe after CC ends. It was my ending too. I get completely upstaged. If you've been thinking it was your turn this entire time, you're sorely mistaken. Kazusa has the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel disc. I love how many, little references there are to other types of culture. Not culture, but, anime culture. The guide continued to love for 5 years, walked right in front of me. I couldn't contain myself. Yes, all right. It makes sense you would go a little wild. I love you. But couldn't you have tried to contain yourself a bit? All right, here I go. I attacked the player's life points directly. Stop. Chock full of Yu-Gi-Oh! References this time, huh? The fact that I went so completely out of character, laughing, crying, putting actual effort in, falling for someone, it's all his fault. It sounds cute when you put it that way, but I can't imagine how hopeless he would have been without him there. Bleh. Honestly, I think Kazusa was getting along just fine before he showed up again. Without him, I'd probably be enjoying a life of pleasure as a NEET, doing Let's Plays in a weird mask with ridiculously expensive effects. My head hurts thinking about it. That was priceless. Whoa, 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 whoa. W's repeated like that is kind of like LOL in Japanese. Whoa, 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 whoa. Anyway. Also, could you imagine Kazusa being a Let's Player? I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. I was living a life of debauchery. And how about that hot spring inn? So enviably scandalous. I'm sure you were just burning up in flames of jealousy, Setsuna-chan. My body and heart were both in heaven. Look at the eyeball. Oh my god. But in the end, he did come back to me. Unfortunately, you're right. You underestimate me, however. I special summon bedridden Yoko. My turn isn't over. Now, you have to stay with me through my true ending. Kazusa, you demon, you villain. Just try to win. As sad as it is, that's kind of what happened. Haruki was like, okay, maybe I should go back to Setsuna, and then suddenly oh, Yoko's very terminally ill. Better go back to Kazusa. Not that Kazusa did that on purpose. I mean, Kazusa didn't even know that was happening, but still. So, we're going to read through a summary of Coda, Common Route, and Kazusa's Normal Route timeline. Starting in December from the right-hand side. Setsuna decides to accompany Haruki to France. Haruki and Setsuna go to ask Ogiso family for permission to travel. Which is so silly to me. Haruki has business trip send-off party with Takeya et al. Et al. Oh god, I haven't seen that since, university papers. Kazusa and Yoko go to Strasbourg. Haruki reunites with Kazusa in Strasbourg. Happy Christmas Eve, everyone. Haruki interviews Kazusa. Merry Christmas, everyone. Haruki organizes the material he collected in the editorial department. Haruki receives a warning from Takeya regarding Kazusa. Takeya's not stupid. Takeya's very smart. He's dumb in his own ways, but in regards to what's actually happening, Takeya's not stupid. And moving into January, Haruki has encounter with Kazusa at former Toma residence. Huh, that's what they're calling it, an encounter. Tomo asks Setsuna to give a live performance. Haruki refuses to do close coverage of Kazusa. Kazusa flees reporter, begs Haruki for help. Haruki is requested by Yoko to handle Kazusa. Haruki agrees to do close coverage of Kazusa. At least it's spaced out. It's so funny in the roots where it's like, Haruki doesn't want to get with Setsuna. And then the next day it's like, Haruki gets with Setsuna. You know, like it's so funny. What an indecisive man. Kazusa moves into the apartment next to Haruki's. Beginning of disaster. Haruki and Kazusa procure household goods and disguise materials. Haruki begins close coverage of Kazusa. Haruki takes Kazusa out, takes photographs, and chats with her. Kazusa gets ticket for Setsuna's show from Tomo. Haruki tells Kazusa about the past 5 years. Kazusa goes to Setsuna's show. Tomo informs Setsuna about Kazusa and Haruki. Kazusa decides to stand on her own. Setsuna gives ticket for Kazusa to Io. Kazusa pouts because Haruki is too busy with work to drop by. I mean, that's just how it is as a working adult. For everybody except Kazusa. Haruki and Kazusa go to see Shibata-san, Kazusa's former housekeeper. It's really cute. I love that. That's very sweet. And then we move into some character quotes from this section. I think it's possible that just a little bit I was seeing some of my dad in you, Haruki-kun. So maybe it was inevitable, in a sense, that I should fall for you. I mean, I'm my mother's daughter. That's such a weird line. I hate that line. That's so odd. I know they say like, oh, girls want to find someone like their dad because their dad is big and strong and protected them. But like, I don't know. Maybe that's for somebody with happier home lives, but it just really weirds me out. Blech. It wasn't that I wanted to run away because I was unhappy. I wasn't trying to turn my back because I didn't want to see her. It was the opposite. So I couldn't talk to her. I had to ignore her. The special feature in Ensemble 2 years ago, the first article about Kazusa in Japan, you wrote that, didn't you? You knew? No, I realized. When it came to people who understood her that well, as far as I knew, there was only one left in Japan. I mean, do you not know about Setsuna? Have you never heard about Setsuna? Obviously, she's heard about Haruki because Kazusa rambled on and on and on about her. What do you mean you don't belong in Japan? You're claiming oh god, that word is split terribly. Extraterritoriality? What a mouthful, split into 3 chunks there. This is a complete loss of face for your mother. Which I also think is kind of dumb. Yes, you can move out of your country and be like, I don't like my home country anymore. But you can't just be like, I'm not Japanese. Because, like, you are. Don't laugh. Don't laugh in such a carefree way. This is a problem. Well, the whole reason I came back to Japan, you know, was to show you Kazusa Toma at her best. I know how fun it is for me here. I know how happy I am. I know that if I go home while I'm like this, it's only going to hurt more. Damn it, Mom. Man, Coda really is the Kazusa show. Hiding in the shadows of that brightly shining Setsuna, there's a Setsuna who's crying 3 years worth of tears. Kazusa. When I thought about that, I was glad to see Setsuna smiling, but it made my heart hurt. It's true. It's one of those situations that One girl can't be happy if the other girl is, at least when it comes to Haruki. And it takes a long, long time of personal growth and getting over things to reach the point where you're like, okay, like I can be happy in other ways than Haruki. My world is bigger than only Haruki for both of the girls. Continuing on in February, starting from the right. Haruki goes to music room number 2 at Hojo High School with Kazusa. That was such a painful scene. That was one of the times I cried the hardest as well. Kazusa rehearses for concert. Haruki skips concert, goes to see Setsuna. Kazusa flubs her concert, goes missing. Haruki discovers Kazusa in former Toma residence. They begin a love affair. Yikes. Kazusa finds out Haruki and Setsuna are engaged. Haruki and Kazusa live a life of dissipation. Well, that's one way to put it. I like the word debauchery. They used the word debauchery when they were talking about life with Chiaki. I kind of feel like that's also the case with Kazusa and Haruki. Haruki's engagement to Setsuna is celebrated by Takeya et al. I love that too, Takeya et al. Haruki fails to show up for Setsuna's birthday. Oh, God. Haruki makes up his mind to only love Kazusa. Haruki sends Setsuna home when she comes to see him. Invites Kazusa. Oh, God, so painful. Haruki, under the weight of his infidelity, oh, poor baby, feeling the weight of your crimes, begins to suffer physical symptoms whenever he thinks of Setsuna, as he should. Haruki takes break from work, claiming to have the flu. Haruki, reminded of Setsuna, is unable to play the guitar. Haruki and Kazusa visit the hot springs inn from 5 years before. That scene is so dumb to me. Like, you want to move on and you want a new girlfriend, that's your own prerogative. He's going about it a stupid way, but that's a story for another time. Why would you go back to the place that reminds you of your ex? Like, why would you choose the most painful place? It's like, a lot of people who fall into the depths of not necessarily medical depression, but like self-inflicted depression, they like want to be sad. You ever met someone like that? It just feels like they want to be sad. And I'm absolutely not talking about people with actual depression because you cannot help it. I get that. But the decisions that these characters make, it's like they want to punish themselves. They want to make themselves sad because they don't feel like they deserve happiness. And it's so frustrating. Like, if you want to make a decision, fine, but like, stop beating yourself up about it and just like living in the middle. Just go for it. Why go back to that hot springs? It just drives me nuts. But anyway. Haruki returns to Tokyo a broken man. Oh, after Haruki is dumped by Kazusa. Excuse me, that's a very important point. Haruki dumped by Kazusa. Listen, I bawled my eyes out. That was awful. Ugh. Then, Haruki returns to Tokyo a broken man. Haruki is treated as having a mental illness. Haruki goes to view Kazusa's performance with Setsuna. Epilogue. Haruki recovers after a year with Setsuna's devotion. Setsuna has grown stronger and more determined. Don't know why, but she has. And some character quotes from this section. But I couldn't exactly confess my feelings. At the time, I hated myself completely, and so I assumed this guy would never fall for me. So I acted in the worst possible way because it seemed right. That's how far down I was. That's how much pain I was in. I didn't want anyone taking me away. Don't mess with my heart just because you don't hate me. You make me start hoping for things, imagining that I could actually reach out and touch you. But every time you slip away at the last minute, how can you expect me to endure that horrible torture? Kazusa, I love you. Stop. I love you. You're just assuming things. I love you. It's an imprint, that's all. It's because you were alone then. That's why. I love you. The fever is making you delirious. Why don't you go back to your apartment and rest? I love you. But I'm a traitor. All I've done is hurt you. I don't want to leave. Man. White Album 2 is such a sad game. Like, I know that's the whole point of it, but like, Jesus Christ. Sometimes I'm like, ah. Often I'm like, ah. A Haruki who doesn't want other people to be happy. A Haruki who doesn't worry about the ones he loves. That's not the real Haruki. That's not my Haruki. My most precious treasure in the world will break if I hold it. I tried to take care of it, tried so hard to protect it, but I'm so clumsy. It'll fall to pieces in a second. So go back to her, the one who can take care of this treasure better than I can. I have to give you back to Setsuna, the one who can protect you properly. Oh, this fruit is so sad. My God. It's like, they go about things the wrong way. If they were just like, you know what, we're still in love. I'm going to dump Setsuna and be with you. That's fine. The horrible, horrible problem with Kazusa True is, of course, Haruki doesn't do that. And so he finds himself ripped in two different directions. And it's like, Kazusa True wouldn't have been as excruciating if Haruki was straight up just like, Setsuna, sorry. Like, I'm still in love with Kazusa, I'm going to go be with her. Then it would have been fine. But he doesn't, because he's a fool. Why did you come here so soon? I've spent the last week doing a year's worth of crying, so I'm confident that I can do a year's worth of work. I don't believe I made the wrong decision. Do you? Either you forget about me and overcome this alone, or you overcome it with me. Those are the only two choices you have now, Haruki-kun. I wonder whether you know which one would make me happier? You know, that was a really mature quote of Setsuna to say, and honestly, it's one of my favorites. As much as I'm like, Setsuna's kind of dumb for sticking with this, and like, why is she still there for Haruki? I really do really, really, really like this quote. Either you forget about me and overcome this alone, or you overcome it with me. Honest to God, like, those are the two options. What's the other option? Die? Like, she's right. You do it with someone, or you do it on your own. And that was a cool thing of her to say. She's like, you don't have to do it with me. Not do it, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to get over this by yourself. You don't have to get over it with me. But you have to choose one of those two options. She knows Haruki. She knows his indecisiveness. So she's just laying it out straight. Like, hey, you have to choose one of these things. Which one do you want to choose? So, actually with that, before we get into any more of Coda, I think that's a good stopping place for now. So, thank you so much for joining me on this Doujinshi reading from White Album 2, and I'll be back with the next part of Coda shortly. Until then, hope you take care. See you!